Hello, fellow Zettelkasten enthusiasts and anti-novelists and Lilligans and anti-netters and curious onlookers and everyone else who's popped over. Number one, thank you so much for your subscriptions. I really appreciate having you along on this journey, and I appreciate all of your encouragement. So here's a big wave and big high five thumb out to all of you. So let's see what I've done today. The first thing I did is I got myself a binder. Of course, I've got a million of these around, so I just printed myself out with my titles, so I've got that at hand. And then I went through and I printed all of the chapters that are currently written in my Scrivener. Now, I got a great question over in the other video, which I believe was from yesterday. Someone asked me, will this system work for a pantser? Because it obviously focuses pretty significantly on the plot box and plotting. So I'm going to address the plot box tomorrow, because today I want to answer this plotter versus pantser question, because it kind of gets to the heart of the issue. When I set about writing this book, you know, I pulled my cards out of my Zettelkasten box. I laid them out in the order that kind of made sense to me. And in video one, I kind of walked you through what those chapters might look like. I gave you a sense of the lay of the land. As of today, it has completely changed, okay? So if you look at my Scrivener, what I have labeled as chapter 1, setting up your system, okay, that's the same, but more than half of the sections of that chapter are now moved 4 chapters below. What was chapter 2 used to be Foundations of the Novel, which I've moved to chapter 4. So now chapter 2 is introducing character. Chapter 3 is drafting your team, which introduces you to the protagonist, the antagonist, etc., and so forth. Again, character focused. And then chapter 5, which is going to become chapter 5, is the world stories, where I take you through a whole gob of different story structures from around the world to help you inform how you want to write your story. And then chapters 5 and 6 essentially stay the same, but don't count on it because they may get moved too. My point of sharing this is simply, it doesn't matter if you are an extreme plotter and you need everything figured out in advance before you start writing, or if you are 100% pantser and you just like to write and discover and be free with your process. Either way, with the Zettelkasten as the anchor for your system, that's where the magic happens. It doesn't matter which process you use. The reason is, if you are an extreme plotter, which I am for my fiction, I need a very firm heading of where I'm going, what's going to happen, and how I'm going to get there before I ever start to write. What I have discovered about this decade of my nonfiction writing is I'm much more of a pantser in that regard, because the structure that I initially started out with became completely different from how I had laid out my cards and structured my chapters. And now I feel like I'm on a much better heading as I continue to write and discover this process as I go through it. So with the Zettelkasten as the heart of the system, I can just rearrange my cards, grab the piece I think I want to work on, pants my way through it, tuck those cards over in the box, which I'm starting a new little satellite box for this book project, so I have just these cards at hand in front of me. And then I can just continue to grab cards and items as they fancy me, and I will just pants my way through. And I fully expect that chapters 5 and 6 will probably get scrambled around, and the World Stories chapter will probably get scrambled around. Now I'm toying with the idea of adding an appendix. So my point today is, it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you're on, if you're on an extreme plotting end, or if you're on a pantsing end, or if you're just a puzzler in the middle. I probably fall more in the land of the puzzler in that I pants a bit, but I need a structure to navigate by, and then I continue to pants and puzzle my way through as I fit those pieces together. But nonetheless, the point is, the Zettelkasten for any project makes your project flow because you have everything you need at hand, and it gives you enough of a guidepost that you can move those pieces around how you need to. So I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to do a little organizing and sorting, and then I will show you where I end up. So I will see you in just a few minutes. Okay, so check it out. The side table is all cleaned off of cards. This is a little section on 2 and 3 act structures that goes over in world building, so I'm going to let that stay there. But otherwise, now everything is over here. So I've built out my little portable card cheat file with all the cards that were over on the table, except for the others that I have slotted into my book. This is what I mean by using your Zettelkasten even if you're pantsing. So what I've done is I've gone through each of the chapters as I labeled them earlier today, and I've just slotted in some worksheets and potential items that I might use in that chapter. I've also slotted in several piles of note cards in little packets that are going to be used to build out whatever that chapter's content is. Here's a few other worksheets and packets of cards that will be used to build out the chapter on antagonist, villain, protagonist, contagonist, and antagonist by proxy. So lots of juicy bits coming on how to write great bad guys and challengers. And then as I go through here, you'll see I've just added in packets of cards and worksheets for things to fill out my chapters. And that goes all the way through this nice little book that I've created. So now that that's all updated, I will go through my master documents file. This is where all of your worksheets live. So I don't want to spoil anything by giving you a sneaky peeky, but lots of good worksheets and things that you'll have included there that you can either write on in the book or copy and use on a separate page. So the last piece is now I will go back through my master kind of outline, which this is completely changed since I went through my Scrivener and reordered the chapters. Yeah, this is kind of useless. So just so that I can have it straight in my mind the way that I've reordered things so that I can continue writing forward, I'm going to go through this document last, and I'm just going to update these little chapter bits and make sure that this lines up with what I now have in my Scrivener for my next writing assignments. And then as I tackle each one of these chapters, I will just pull out of the corresponding slot for that chapter that packet of cards or the packet that I have slotted into my working notebook, and then I'll just sit down and do the writing. So I hope that was helpful to see how sometimes you have a clear heading and you just plot your way through, and other times you have to pants your way and do a little bit of puzzling to figure out what you're even going to write about. Tomorrow, I will get back on track and talk to you about the plot box. The plot box is a tool that doesn't have to be formal, strict structure. It doesn't have to be confining. It simply can give you a breadcrumb trail so that as you're thinking through your story, you have a place to slot those pieces in the sequence that you think they might go, so that when you look at the story as a whole, it makes more sense. You can see the through line and you can get the writing done, because at the end of the day, that's what all this is about, getting the words on the page. Because remember, they won't stay in your head forever. We've got to capture them. All of these tools hopefully serve that purpose. So I will see you back here tomorrow when we talk about setting up your very own plot box and how you can use it for whatever style you like to write in. I will see you all tomorrow.